I'm Sarah. I'm 38, and I have to let this out, using a throwaway, for reasons that should be pretty obvious. And I changed a few things for privacy. Growing up in my house was like living in two different worlds. I was the oldest kid, and before my sister Rachel came along, things were normal. My parents weren't exactly warm, but they were there. Mom helped with homework. Dad would take me fishing, nothing fancy, but it was fine. Then one night when I was 8, my Aunt Kelly showed up in the middle of the night, told me to pack a bag. Mom was in the hospital, and Rachel was coming early, too early. Something felt off, and it was that moment I started to feel it, like a line was drawn between me and the rest of the family. When Rachel finally came home, everything changed completely. Our house turned into a hospital. Almost Mom was obsessed with keeping everything clean, hand sanitizer, everywhere, bleach all the time. She even put those industrial air filters in every room. And if I got the smallest sniffle off, I went to Grandma Marie or Aunt Kelly's house. Didn't matter if it was just a sneeze or a cough. I was gone at first. It felt like an adventure. Cookies with Grandma reading Nancy Drew at Aunt Kelly's. But eventually, I realized what was really happening. I wasn't being treated. I was being avoided, like I was some sort of threat. Like being healthy made me a danger to my sister. I worked hard to get noticed. All as won the science fair, taught myself piano for the talent show. But it was never enough if Rachel had a fever. Even a tiny one, no one showed up to watch me. But 2 weeks later, the whole family showed up to watch her squeak through hot crossbuns on the flute, and she used that to her advantage. Always tired, always sick, always needing something, and my parents just let it happen. I started hiding in my room, reading about art and history, mostly because Rachel said she was allergic to my lavender air freshener. So it was the only space that was truly mine. Honestly, I was kind of glad when she faked being sick, because at least it meant I'd get to go to Grandma Marie's, someone who actually asked how my day was, who remembered what I liked. She was the one who got me into vintage jewelry, letting me organize her old collection. I think that's when I learned how much I liked structure and detail, and honestly, how much I craved being seen. But the worst part wasn't even the favoritism. It was how they explained it away, saying things like, Rachel needs more attention because she had a tough start. Or Sarah's so independent, she understands. No, I didn't understand. I was just a kid trying to figure out why I had to be perfect, just to earn a glance, and if you're still with me right now, I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll give this video a like because it helps more people hear these stories, people who might have felt invisible too. So back to school, I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. To me, it was a way out while Rachel was busy being a drama queen in middle school. I was plotting my exit, and I took it seriously. Every club I could fit in, every shift at Carson's Diner, every scholarship I could chase, and bless Carol the owner for remembering my birthday, even when my own parents didn't. My desk at home looked like something out of a magazine. I was organized to the extreme, and Rachel mocked me for it. But I didn't care because no one was watching, which meant I could do whatever I wanted. Debate team, National Honor Society school newspaper, I was all in debate was where I finally found my voice, where I realized how powerful it felt to hold your ground with calm words. And when I scored a perfect SAT, perfect, I ran home to tell my mom. She barely looked up, told me to be quiet because Rachel had a test coming up. Then Rachel called me Miss Perfect, and my mom told her she was just a different kind of learner. That was the moment it clicked. Nothing I did would ever matter, not unless Rachel benefited from it too. So I kept going alone, applied to 15 colleges, did all the work myself. Every essay, every form, every recommendation. And when the acceptance letters started rolling in from Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Michigan, I hid them under my bed, because I knew if Rachel found out, they'd somehow make it about her again. The day I got a full ride to Yale, Rachel made the JV cheerleading squad. Guess which one got a family dinner out? Spoiler, not me. I ate mac and cheese alone in my room, but the scholarship was my ticket out, full tuition, housing, books. I was finally free when I told them I was going to Michigan. They were shocked more because they realized I was actually leaving. Rachel cried, asked if she could have my room for her TikTok videos, and my mom reminded me they couldn't help with any costs because Rachel's cheer stuff was expensive. I didn't even argue. I just packed and reminded myself that I was never going back. And if you've ever felt like the extra kid in your own home, maybe share this video or comment below, because trust me, I know how it feels. And sometimes just knowing you're not alone can mean everything. When I walked into my apartment that night, I felt empty, like something in me had cracked wide open. I stared at the mirror for a long time, trying to find the girl he called ugly, but all I saw was someone who had trusted too easily, someone who had given everything to a person who never deserved it. I sat on the couch replaying his words over and over, his laugh, the way his friends looked at me like I was a joke. My stomach twisted. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come instead. I felt numb, cold, like the pain had frozen inside me. I knew I couldn't keep quiet about what happened, but I also knew I had no one to really talk to. My friends were busy. My family never liked him anyway, and I felt too ashamed to admit what had gone down so publicly. That's when I decided to write about it. Not for revenge, not to shame him, but just to breathe, just to get it out of me. I opened my laptop and wrote everything: how we met, how things changed, how tonight shattered everything. I posted it anonymously on a support forum, hoping someone out there would hear me. Maybe understand. The response was more than I expected. People flooded the thread with kindness, support stories of their own. And for the first time that night, I didn't feel alone. If you've ever felt like no one understands what you're going through, just know that there are people out there who do sometimes. Strangers show you more love than the ones you gave your heart to. If you're still watching right now, maybe you're one of those people who needed to hear that. You matter. You're not ugly. You're not weak. You're just human. And humans break sometimes, but we also heal. Keep watching, because things are about to change in ways I never saw coming. I told her this year I could finally afford catering. She looked at me and said, "Oh, honey, we really can't pay for that." And I just smiled and said, "Don't worry, Mom, I've already taken care of it. I've been saving up for a while." She looked a little more worried and asked me if I had taken out a loan or something, and I reassured her, "Nope." I had worked with a luxury catering company I use for my business events. They handle everything with this level of finesse and elegance that makes you wonder why anyone cooks at home anymore. It cost way more than they probably thought I made in months, but that didn't matter to me. Thanksgiving morning arrived, and I was actually feeling excited for once. I had my laptop with me, because I needed to keep an eye on this huge auction happening in Hong Kong. There was this stunning Art Nouveau necklace up for bidding, and one of my clients wanted my authentication service. If they managed to win it, the food arrived right on time. Everything was set up perfectly. Every dish looked like something out of a fancy lifestyle magazine. And just as expected, Rachel had something to say. She looked at the stuffing and said, "Oh, so we're doing store-bought stuffing now. Really, Sarah, Mom's stuffing is so much better." This coming from the same person who once triggered the fire alarm, just trying to toast bread. Mom kept apologizing to everyone for not cooking herself, but you could tell people were enjoying the food. I mean, Rachel shut up real quick once she tasted the maple-glazed Brussels sprouts, which, by the way, cost more per serving than she spends on groceries in an entire week. At some point, I stepped away from the table because I had to check on the auction. My old bedroom was still the same as when I was in high school. Mom had left it untouched, but Rachel's room had been renovated 3 times over the years. I left my authentication software running with several tabs open, showing client accounts agreements and profit reports. Then came the disaster moment. Rachel barged into my room without knocking, as usual. She said she needed a charger, and when she glanced at my laptop, her whole face lit up like she had discovered some juicy gossip. She smirked and said, "Oh, let's see what Sarah's really been doing." And before I could stop her, she grabbed the laptop and marched right into the dining room like she was about to present breaking news to the nations. Picture this: 20 people gathered around the table. Aunts, uncles, cousins, parents, everyone relaxed, full from gourmet turkey and sipping expensive wine that they all assumed came from Trader Joe's. And then Rachel just holds up the laptop and says, "Time to show everyone what kind of super important work Sarah is doing today." She flips it around like she's about to expose me for being a fraud or a slacker or whatever her twisted version of reality believes. And then total silence hit the room, like real silence. You could hear the expensive clock I got Mom last Christmas ticking in the background. She thought it was a cheap replica. The laptop screen showed everything: current account balance, over $12 million, a pending authentication contract worth almost $500,000, a recent sale of $1.2 million, and a quarterly report from the Hong Kong auction firm showing profits above $4 million. Rachel's face changed through like 5 emotions: In less than 5 seconds, shock, confusion, panic, maybe a bit of nausea. She literally staggered back a little and whispered, "This cannot be real. If you're still here watching, I'm glad you're part of this story." And honestly, if you've ever had people underestimate you, maybe it's time to quietly build and surprise them later. If you're enjoying this journey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. We've got more powerful true stories coming that you won't believe. Rachel said, barely holding it together, "She's rich. She's actually rich." And suddenly, it was like the volume had been sucked out of the room. Mom started laughing, like genuinely cracking up. She said, "Oh, come on, Sarah, works at that little antique shop. How can she be rich?" I stood up, calmly, smoothed out my basic-looking cashmere sweater, which, by the way, cost more than their monthly mortgage. And I said, "Actually, Mom, I own one of the largest jewelry authentication companies in the country. I've spent years verifying pieces worth millions. I have offices in 3 cities." Dad choked on his drink. Aunt Kelly dropped her fork. Someone was coughing in the back. Then, Mom's laugh started changing. Her face went red, then purple, and she jumped up so fast her chair hit the floor. She screamed, "You have millions, and you let us struggle." And I said, "Struggle? I've been sending you $7,000 every month." And she shouted back, "While sitting on millions, your sister has student loans." And there it was, not a single word of congratulations. Not a single moment of pride in what I'd built, just anger and entitlement. Rachel started crying out of nowhere, full dramatic sobbing about how I had lied and betrayed the family, and kept everything from her. Dad suddenly got emotional, too, accusing me of being selfish. How could I do this to the people who raised me? And that's when I couldn't hold back anymore. All the years of being ignored, all the moments I was overlooked and dismissed, all the sacrifices I made alone, they rushed out of me like a flood. I said, "Raised me. You barely noticed me. You sent me to Grandma's every time I got sick. You missed every award, every graduation, every moment, because Rachel needed attention. You never saved for my college, but sent her to private school. And now you're mad because I succeeded without you." The next 5 minutes were madness. Mom was shouting about obligations. Dad was yelling about ungrateful children. Rachel was crying and asking how much money I really had, all while the catering team stood awkwardly trying to serve dessert. I grabbed my laptop, picked up my Hermes bag, the same one Mom complimented earlier as a decent replica, and I walked out behind me. I heard Mom start talking about how they were going to spend my money. Something about Rachel's MBA and a new car. I got into my limited edition BMW, which they all assumed was a rental or something, and I left. But that was just the beginning.